Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Fighter Method. I've decided I was going to call my live series anytime we meet. Decided I was going to call it the Fighter's Corner because who doesn't need somebody in their corner? And you guys are fighters, so that is super, super awesome um, of you guys to come back. So welcome back. If you are new here, welcome to the Fighter's Method, Fighter Corner. Um, I appreciate you stopping by and hope to make you family. So I got a couple disclaimers. Hey, Linda, I have a couple disclaimers. I am not a doctor or a mental health professional. Just go ahead and throw that out there. So nothing that I say is meant to treat you, but it is meant, hey, Kyla, it is meant to provide information to help you relieve your stress. Okay. So now that I've gotten all of that out of the way, the legalities. So we're going to continue our live series on stress. But first, fun cup. Today's fun cup is the donut. Super cute, very impractical to drink out of. Super, super impractical to drink out of. So I am just getting stuff together so that I can see everybody's comments and nobody feels left out. Hey, Chris, how are you? Okay, so we are going to finish our or continue our sessions on stress management. And so today we are talking about whether or not you are headed for a nervous breakdown. So you're in for a treat. Um, B, it's going to open up a whole lot of things. So it's a lot of information, but it's going to be very, very, very helpful. So, are you headed for a nervous breakdown? So, a nervous breakdown, very impractical to drink out of. I literally almost spilled tea. Anywho, so a nervous breakdown or a mental breakdown is when you get so stressed that your stress hits that severe level of no return, right? So your breakdown can feel like you no longer can handle the things that you once could handle. You can't really function like as well as you used to be able to function on a daily basis. You might start making rash decisions or you're really snippy. Um, and some of those symptoms reveal themselves as severe depression or being lethargic, extremely fatigued, sleeping or not sleeping, um, and having the sudden mood swings and angry outbursts, right? And so all of that spun up then spins up your anxiety. So your stress only makes your anxiety more noticeable. You'll notice that you're having a heightened sense of anxiety or panic attacks more often than not. Definitely a sign that your body is reaching that stress breaking point, right? And nobody, nobody's body should ever have to go through being in a high level of stress 24/7, right? So the other things that happen is it's like a trickling effect. So your relationships will start to be affected. Um, Personal and work relationships, and then you keep going and you keep going and you keep going. Then your work starts to seriously decline, and you feel like you're not contributing how you could contribute because your mind's always going, right? So what I hear from a lot of people a lot of times is how they never have time for themselves, right? And that's when like the red flags go up for me. If I ever get to that point where I say I never have time for myself, um, I have to remind myself that everyone needs a break. Everyone needs time off. I could just keep running and keep running and keep running, but then eventually my body will shut down. So how helpful is that to the overall equation if it keeps happening, if that's like your cycle, right? So you need that time to yourself. Not allowing yourself that self care leaves you to feeling overwhelmed, and helpless. And you're like, there's so much that I need to do, but I can't fix it because I don't know where to start and I don't have the energy. So, some simple ways to start with how to appropriately manage what is going on with you, right? Is to find a way to declutter your mind, um, which means anything going on inside your mind or your life, you have to find a way to sort them in bins so that you can detach at the end of your day, right? Because all of the little things add up to huge, huge things. Um, and then it starts the downward spiral. You get to that point where you start to doubt yourself and your capabilities, right? So you start thinking negative thoughts more so than positive thoughts. Um, you stop you stop accepting the gift of someone telling you that you've done a good job, and you exchange it for the guilt of all of the things that you didn't get done. So all of the joy from the person acknowledging the hard work that you're doing or them appreciating you for doing things, you instantly start to think of all of the things that you could have done that you didn't, and you start to feel guilty. How many of you that are currently watching this live have gone through that phase where you feel guilty because of all of the things that you didn't get done, and you have a hard time accepting, hey, I did do some great things, right? So, ways that you can help declutter the space in your mind, right? You write things down. Um, you get all your thoughts. I'm a huge, huge, huge advocate for journaling, and it doesn't have to be 96 pages. You're not writing a book, but journaling allows you to get your thoughts out. So everything that you're worried about, things that are stressing you, to get them out of your head so that you can find a way to wind down, right? Um, Everyone has this running to-do list that's in their brain, and they keep adding to it, but then you start to feel overwhelmed. If that running to-do list is the thing that's keeping you up at night, how about we write the list down so that we can get it out of our brains, and then we can start to detach all of the thoughts that are currently racing and put them, like I said, sort them in bins so that you can find a way to deal with each individual thing instead of the things that are piling on onto each other, right? So brain dumps are huge. Another thing that I know that I've personally had problems with is choosing my priorities, because in my mind, everything's a priority, right? You want to get all of the things done. But if you get all of the things done, what do you sacrifice? You sacrifice your sanity, you sacrifice your sleep, you sacrifice your health, because you're spending so much time giving to others, but you're not giving to yourself, right? So you start to set priorities for the tasks that you want to deal with in the order that you know that you need to deal with them, right? And then for the things that you can delegate, you delegate those things. You ask for help. The biggest supporter of you is you, right? So if you don't advocate for you, how can anyone else advocate for you, right? So if you've hit that point of burnout or overwhelm, if you never ask for help and then you have your break, nobody will know that it was coming. It would just kind of seem like you're having a super bad day, and they're like, why are you snapping at me? It's not that you're projecting, and it's human nature. Everyone does it, right? So for those who say that they never have time for themselves, um, take a brief moment to find a way to make time for yourself. You have to choose you, right? And then we stop for a minute and acknowledge that we should stop doubting our abilities, right? That's huge. So a lot of times you start to doubt the things that you're good at and the things that you bring to the table, because in your mind you are so caught up in the list of things, the running list of things, that you haven't gotten done. So if you're an overthinker, like most people, human nature to be an overthinker, I encourage finding 5 minutes and doing 5 minutes worth of mindfulness where it's just you. You could be listening to music. You cannot be listening to music. You could be listening to nature, but it gives you that 5 minutes to deconflict or disconnect all of the things that are going on, and it dedicates that time to you. So that means your phone goes on do not disturb. If that's the way you want to spend your mindfulness for 5 minutes, your phone goes on do not disturb unless it's emergency. So you could have that dedicated 5 minutes to yourself. So if it's you drinking a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, and everyone likes to scroll through their phones while they're doing these things, if it means making a conscious decision to put your phone on do not disturb for the 5 minutes that you're enjoying, whatever beverage that you're enjoying, just so that you can allow yourself to get centered, right? And you have to know what your stressors are. You have to identify those stressors. So before you get to that snapping point, if it's the things that are keeping you up, if every day you gave yourself 5 minutes to write down the things that were stressing you out, and then you close the book, but you got it on paper, you close the book. And then one at a time, you start to address the things that you had listed, but you don't have to do them all at once, right? It's not a giant overhaul, but we want it to be because we want it to make it better. Like right now, it didn't get bad overnight. It's not going to get better right now. So you have to find ways to, we're learning techniques to alter our behaviors, right? Because we're creatures of habit. And so nobody really likes change, but change in this aspect is very beneficial. So I'm a huge advocate for self-care and identifying stress, right? So about a year ago, I thought I was handling all of the things very, very well. I typically say I handle high stress situations really, really well until I didn't, right? It was a normal day, and then I was on the floor. So all of that stress that I had built up that I thought that I was handling very well, I wasn't. I'm young, right? And there I am laying on the floor having CPR done because that stress built up, right? So if I can prevent anybody from ever having to go through what I went through or having their families go through what my family's gone through, then I take that as exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, right? So what I practice, it seems cheesy to some people. It works for me. Is mantras and affirmations, right? It's been used, both of those have been used for a really long time by several different groups of people all around the world, right? They help you manage your stressful situations, right? They help you with your confidence moving forward so that you can feel confident in you, not in what others perceive you to be, but in you and your truth, right? And what you're going through and how you manage. They can put you in a super calm state. So how do you use these mantras? And I'm actually going to give you guys an example of some mantras for you to, maybe use. You write them in a journal. You use a different one every day because it's something that helps you retrain your mind, right? And then you have your go-to affirmations in a place that you'll often see them, because a lot of the times we need several reminders throughout the day that we're okay, right? So how do you choose the best ones? You choose them based off of how you feel. Sometimes I could see a quote that just speaks to me and I'm like, that's it. And I'll write it down and I refer to it often because it just spoke to me. So sometimes you'll just be somewhere and something someone said or something that you read would speak to you on a level that it doesn't with other people. And that could become one of your affirmations or your mantras. I'm telling you, I'm literally about to wear this tea, but I keep picking the cup up. So then you ask yourself, what am I using the affirmations for, right? And are those affirmations keeping you calm and positive? You don't want to add any more negative into the situation that you can already barely manage, right? So you want to start tweaking it toward things that'll help you flip that negative thought into something positive. So here are some ideas, some of my go-to affirmations and mantras. I am at peace. Anytime I get like super wound up, I have to tell myself I am at peace. And I just keep repeating, I'm at peace until my anxiety comes down, because the bottom line is no one else outside of you is worked up but you. So whatever it is that you're carrying around, no one else knows that you're carrying it around, probably because you never asked for help. And also they just don't know. So you have to remind yourself, I am at peace. Or another one that I absolutely love, I will remain calm, because I work. You'll come across people that will just poke the bear. But you have to remind yourself, okay, I will remain calm, because who's in control of your situation? It should be you in control of your situation. Um, if it's something that feels like an inconvenience, or another something that pokes the bear, I remind myself that this is temporary. Um, and then exhaling allows me to release stress. And I spend my 2 minutes just doing cleansing breaths to help me get rid of the tension that's in my shoulders, because when you're stressed, the first place it goes is your neck and your shoulders. I tell myself that my body is at peace. When I am having a bad flare day or flare week, I remind myself that my body is at peace. And I do that right before I go to sleep, because I'm an insomniac. I also remind myself that I am loved and that I am complete, not because of others' perception of me being loved, but from me genuinely knowing that I am loved, right? And I'm accepted for me. And I'm a complete person, regardless of whatever type of absolute catastrophe is going on inside me that no one else sees. And one of my absolute favorites is, when I wake up, I go, today I will let go of my worries. It doesn't matter what your faith base is. You don't have to hold all of that in, right? So how do you control thoughts that could be uncontrollable, right? So the intrusive thoughts, perfectly normal. Sometimes you can't shake them. But intrusive thoughts often feel uncontrollable because they just keep popping up. And they keep popping up because when they pop up, we don't deal with them. So finding a way to deal with them as they pop up, jot it down on a sticky or whatever, and then you can start to process and deal with those things that will ultimately bring your stress level down, right? So intrusive thoughts are uncontrollable thoughts that always come up without warning. They can feel like they're harder to get rid of. They cause a lot of stress and overwhelm. They prevent you from being able to stay calm, right? So now you're all angsty. But then what happens when we don't deal with the intrusive thoughts? The intrusive thoughts then become obsessions. We become absolutely obsessed with whatever we had going on in our minds and getting that particular thing done off of our to-do list. But it overall results in anxiety disorders and depression and OCD to an extent, depending on the person, right? So some simple steps to overcome your uncontrollable thoughts is use mindfulness. It sounds like a buzzword. It's really not. But you use the mindfulness moment to accept whatever it is that is becoming intrusive, so that you can move past the intrusive thought. You understand why the thoughts are popping up to begin with. So you have to identify the cause. And then you stop trying to get them to go away without you dealing with it. Yes, Elroy, mindfulness. So some of the tips that I have for you guys to help with these thoughts that are causing serious struggles. I'm going to keep saying the word because Elroy loves it. mindfulness, 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 mindfulness. Um, it helps you switch your your thought process, your patterns. Write stuff down. Find someone to talk to, because dealing with it yourself is clearly not helping as much if you are in a constant state of overwhelm. So you have to have that safe space, um, or your network of people that you can come to and go, hey, can I just bounce some things off of you, so that you're not carrying around by yourself. And then you want to live every day. So I tell a lot of people that you have to find a place to disconnect, right? Because if you're always wrapped tight and you never find that space, that buffer space before transitioning between one thing to another, they start to bleed into each other. And so you have to find that space so that you can detach one stressor from another stressor, because not all stressors are bad. So if you have a super hectic job, like for me, my ride home, welcome back, Linda. My ride home is my time to de-stress, because it's just me. I can blast angry rap. I can listen to gospel. I could listen to the Hamilton soundtrack. My playlist is very sporadic, but it helps me um, to de-stress before I come home, right? So that I can make sure that my family gets the best of me um, before they go to bed, right? Um, it's important that you live like right now, um, not a week from now. We can plan for those things, but every day is different. And so you have to find what works for you so that you can adjust when things go awry. Because when things, like my favorite phrase, oh, that goes rogue. When things go rogue, you have to find that happy space, that balance, to where you can deal with the fact that things went rogue without it causing you additional stress and anxiety. So it's finding a way to spin that perceived negative into a positive, right? So good mindfulness exercises for beginners includes body scanning. So that's mentally noticing each part or zone of your body one section at a time. It forces you to focus on one thing, and the thing that you're focusing on is not your stressor. You're focusing on how you feel from the inside out versus the outside contributors making you feel angsty and stressed. Um, Cleansing breaths, also super awesome, but you want to think about your breathing while you're in the moment, because it forces you to think about just your breathing. Um, you want to be in a quiet space. It doesn't have to be all night or all day. Just give yourself 5 to 10 minutes. If you can't do 5 to 10 minutes, then give yourself 2 minutes of that quiet time to be in that space where it's just you, and it allows you to sort through all of the things that you feel, right? And then you use your senses. Um, this one is huge for me. I do, what do I see? What can I smell? What can I feel? Do I taste anything? Um, and it just helps me kind of bring myself down, because I do it by 5 things. I go 5 things that I could smell, 5 things that I can hear, 5 things that I can taste. And then by the time you're done, you're actually in a super, super calm space. Um, I could go on and on and on, but that would make this super long. So until tomorrow, when we finish up our live series on stress, it has been a pleasure to spend this time with you. I am sending you light and love and a stress-free tomorrow. Toodles.